Team coverage topic of the day, Judiciary on trial.
As you can tell, we are all very anxious about this and excited about it as well because we put a lot of hours into it. Joining us first is Bridget Singana in Nakuru on the plight of Kenyans seeking legal help from the lawyers.
Bridget, over to you.
Yes, Smriti and Mark, stories of legal officers, in this case lawyers, swindling Kenyans of their money and property have been on the rise in the country. And while the victims have been seeking legal redress, it seems that the system is out to protect their own. Just take a look. When Joel Kamau went to the Nakuru law courts to seek redress against a local SACCO, a chief and another suspect for assaulting him and taking away his equipment, he had no idea that his lawyer would turn on him. When the judge awarded him compensation, navigating the corridors of justice proved difficult. A lawyer, identified as Githiru Ng'ang'a, volunteered to help him track his money.
Kanambia mimi hii ni pro bono. Kama mimi sijui pro bono kusema nini? Kanambia pro bono ni kusema mimi nakusaidia bure. Na mimi siwezi kukusaidia bure, alafu nikulipie. Wewe unatafuta pesa, ukipata pesa ukuje. Sasa mimi nikaenda nyumbani nikakaa. Nikitafuta 17,200 nipeleke wakili ili ndivyo pesa.
Kamau was awarded 393,950 shillings as compensation, but the lawyer only gave him 170,200, he says.
Mawakili ambao wanakuwa ni watu, inastahili walipe pesa hiyo ambao walikuwa ni mtu, kwa sababu hakunisaidia, ni mwisho akanistaki nimlipe kesi ambao ni ya fake.
Kamau sought the intervention of the Advocates Complaints Commission, but his case was dismissed. But he is not alone. In Machakos County, Jackson Maingi walks with a slight limp. 10 years ago, he was knocked by a PSV vehicle. He took up the services of a Machakos lawyer, Ndambuki Sila, in seeking compensation. When Maingi confronted the lawyer about the money awarded to him, his nightmare began.
Tulipoenda kotini, jaji mwenyewe akatoa judgment yake ambayo ilikuwa valuation ilikuwa 250.
Maingi's attempts to reach the lawyer have been futile. We did not find Ndambuki at his office when we visited. He was also unavailable on phone. In Kandara Murang'a County is yet another case. Paul Njuguna's wife and children are lucky to have survived a tragic accident 2 years ago alongside other passengers. Their lawyer Victor Kiriama won a compensation case, but they are yet to see the money.
Inamo tarehe 1 mwezi wa 5 2018, wakili alitupigia simu akatuambia yeye ni wakili na anafanya kazi ya kusaidia watu. Tukakutana Kandara, tukampatia kazi, alilipwa tarehe 5 mwezi wa 10, tukajua amelipwa pesa. Tukampigia simu akakataa kuchukua simu. Tangu sikio hakuna siku amechukua simu yetu.
Paul says that even after complaining to the Advocates Complaints Commission, the lawyer is still practicing.
Kulingana na vile tumefuata, tumeonelea vizuri insurance wanashirikiana na wakili kuiba Wakenya pesa.
Lawyer Kipkoech Ngetich doubles up as a member of the Disciplinary Committee of the Advocates Commission and the LSK Council. He says there is an avenue for recourse.
Where a lawyer has also withheld funds for a client, you can always file an originating summons and go before the High Court in this country asking for accounts. So lawyers have nowhere to hide. So long as there is sufficient evidence, the disciplinary committee does not hesitate to crack down.
Kamau, Maingi and Njuguna are just a few among thousands of Kenyans swindled by lawyers. Many more continue to suffer at the hands of those who should be protecting their rights. When you listen to such tales, you are not, you cannot even help to just have emotions that are evoked within you from a personal perspective, but you can just see the struggle that most Kenyans are going through. And while some are lucky to have their day in court, sometimes the wheels of justice grind slower and it takes longer than they expected to take in the corridors of justice, as my colleague Oko Okusa looks into that. Okusa.
Yes, Bridget, as they say, justice delayed is justice denied. And as for many Kenyans, the wheels of justice tend to drag, or rather grind slowly. And this means that some of the cases in courts drag for as long as decades. And this has even been made even more alarming by perceived perceived manipulation of judicial processes by officers of the court. And this, of course, means that it's sort of deterring the chase for justice. Here is a report I prepared earlier. Take a look.
Mzee Michael Karuku watches pensively from the sidelines of the Milimani law courts, awaiting his turn in the day's court schedule. The 87-year-old has made this trip for over 55 years, since 1965, chasing justice in a land case.
Na nikija kotini napigwa miaka miwili. Serikali inisaidie, inimalizie hii kesi kabla sijaenda. Maana sasa wale nilifanya kesi nao walikufa, mimi bado wananisumbua, watu wanakaa huko.
Karuku's story exemplifies the frustrations of many a Kenyan seeking justice in the courts. One afternoon in March 2010, the lifeless body of Hesbon Kidera was discovered in a thicket not far from his home on the outskirts of Kisumu. A discovery that sparked off an orgy of violence that culminated in the torching of Michael Ongoro's homestead on suspicion that he was behind the killing. Police arrested 9 suspects, including Samuel Kidera, and charged them for arson.
Kesi kuendelea paka miaka 10 sasa, jua ni sida.
All the 9 accused persons testified before Senior Resident Magistrate Dolphin Okundi in Maseno in this criminal case, number 1331/2011. But rather mysteriously, the testimonies disappeared.
Hiyo ndio chungu ambayo tuko naye. Tuongea namna gani? Na mbeleni tumeongea, paka defend witness wameongea. Sasa tukirudia na yeye mlalamishi yake iko, na hii yetu umeenda wapi?
An inquiry letter was written to Magistrate Okundi, which read in part, "Given that you typed your proceedings when hearing this case, this therefore is to inquire from you whether you can be able to trace the missing proceedings from your laptop." Okundi, who has since retired from the dock, is yet to respond to the letter.
Kurudi kuongea sisi tunaona ni ngumu. Imagine kama mimi nimeshaudhika na hiyo kesi, siwezi kuongea tena. Bajila hata nikiongea sioni ukweli kama itatokea.
Kidera and his co-accused have appeared before 6 magistrates for the entire period of the case, which is among the oldest at the Maseno Law Courts Registry. The case is set for hearing again on 31st of next month, and Kidera hopes that this will be the last time they will be treading the corridors of justice. Whether they will be found guilty or not, they just want a fair trial, and the case conclusively dispensed with.
Well, the situation is not unique in both cases, and Mel Miendo has been digging through judicial, digging dates from the judicial cases, and just to find out the extent of backlog in various courts across the country. Mel.
Yes, Okusa, the State of the Judiciary Report 2018-2019 says the backlog of court cases at June 30th, 2019 totals 341,056 cases. Now, the courts with the highest backlog of cases in this period are the Magistrates Court at 245,268 cases and the Kadhi's Court at 63,443 cases. In the same period, 225,322 cases were in the courts between 1 and 3 years, 75,953 cases stayed in the courts between 3 and 5 years, and those that took 5 years and above stood at 39,781 cases. So we go to the Supreme Court, where 93 cases are still pending from the last 5 years, 41 of which are classified as backlog. As at the end of 2018-2019, 6,050 cases were pending from the last 5 years at the Court of Appeal, of which 3,631 are classified as backlog. In all the high courts countrywide, 87,460 cases are pending from 2014-2015, 63,443 of which are categorized as backlog. We go now to the Environment and Lands Courts countrywide. 7,162 cases are pending from 2014-2015. Case backlog here stands at 16,026. In the Magistrates Court, 437,387 cases remain pending, out of which a total of 245,268 are classified as backlog. In the tribunals, pending cases are 26,439 from the year 2017 to 2018. The backlog of cases has been attributed by the judiciary to insufficient funding, but the judiciary itself is in the dock for a betting graft within it, as Silas Apollo has been finding out. Silas?
Yes, Mel, it is no secret that the justice system in Kenya is manipulated by those with deep pockets. Chief Justice David Maraga has openly acknowledged the existence of cartels within the judiciary, while the CJ before him described it as a bandit economy. Whichever way you look at it, there's no denying that justice in Kenya is for sale. Here is my report. In May 2018, a Mombasa court sentenced a man found in possession of 155 rolls of bang to life in prison. The court ruled that Emmanuel Chacha had all the intentions of harming the youth. Fast forward to January 2019, and another court in Nyahururu slapped another suspect with a 2-month jail term for smoking bang. Now, compare the speed with which they were sentenced to other high-profile cases touching on those with deep pockets, like that of former Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero, accused in a 200 million shillings graft case. Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, the NYS2 scandal, Kenya Pipeline, just to mention a few. Adjournments, delays, and even questionable acquittals have been the case.
If you do not have a judiciary that has a good image and that has the confidence of the public, then we all suffer, including prosecutors and the police, because then what are we doing? It is a waste of time. Perhaps the feeling in former Chief Justice Willy Mutunga's mind in these remarkable moments of candor.
The bandit economy, I still believe that we have those particular issues of cartels and corruption.
A 2011 report by the Transparency International found that close to 10% of all bribes in the country ended up at the judiciary.
Ufisadi iko kila pahali. Na ukiangalia judiciary hata kwanza ndio imeshughulikia hilo jambo zaidi kuliko idara zingine.
When the culprits have been arrested, culprits have been evidence has been taken to court, then they're given bail and they're able to go back to work, and they're being treated as angels who are just being molested.
Not even a radical shake-up of the system in 2003 that saw 23 judges and 82 magistrates sacked over high-profile corruption allegations has salvaged the situation.
Now I'm being labeled the high priest of corruption. If that's what it means, I take that title with no reservations. I will defend my officers when they are unfairly being criticized.
Lawyers have not been without blame either.
Is it right for legislators who have control over funds and exercise oversight over the judiciary to appear in courts as counsel?
Where the big fish is concerned, there are some unscrupulous lawyers who would like to be clients of the judges and magistrates.
The question on the minds of many is how the judiciary will fight graft if the judiciary itself is a victim of graft.
Now, from justice for sale to the tilted scales of justice in Kenya. In Kenya, if you're a small fish, you're more likely to drown in the murky waters of the justice system, one that evidently favors the big fish. Olive Barrows make a comparison between the outcome of cases that face the rich and the poor. Here is our report.
The law is an ass, used in instances where the letter of the law defeats its famed spirit by being unreasonable and downright irrational. An unsympathetic side to the law which anecdotal evidence has shown us you're more likely to be acquainted with if you're one of the have-nots, better known as the small fish. For instance, if you were sentenced to 2 years in prison or a fine of 1 million in the alternative for admitting to being in possession of a python.
You don't see why the person who is stealing 100 million is being leniently, sentenced, while yourself, having stolen a mango, you're also being sentenced to 3 years or 10 years, for that matter.
That sends the message that if you're going to steal, steal big. After all, when you're a big fish, the law ceases to be an ass and yields itself to your manipulation.
Somebody's arrested, you've got a batteries of lawyers, some of them members of parliament, rushing to go and defend them. The court is so quick in giving bail to get them out of me, you see. Then they just go out and then the case will never be heard until evidence is lost.
Where the big fish is concerned, there are some unscrupulous lawyers who would like to be clients of the judges and magistrates in the sense that they will take money to them. There is court capture, just like you have state capture, where certain people have a lot of influence before in the courts.
The said compromised judges stand accused by the Director of Public Prosecutions and the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission of granting unnecessary adjournments that eventually lead to witness fatigue and weakened cases.
If it's a high-flying case, and there's a lot of media coverage and all that, what is the easiest way to do it? I mean, to get out of that limelight. You get more time, then the coverage dies down, and the case becomes a normal case. I mean, in a position like that, I would also advise my client to be sick.
Members of the public write me letters and complaining, and I see that they are justified in the complaint. Cases have been lagging in court. Sometimes you find that his opponent is taking everybody in circles. A party who, when the case is coming to an end, and he's seeing like he's going to lose, he fires his lawyer. And says, look, I need time to get another lawyer, blah, blah, to move on that. We are dealing with that, and we don't want those kind of delaying tactics.
But even as the judiciary assumes some responsibility for making it easier for the big fish to skirt accountability, the investigative authorities are not blameless.
Before you take somebody to court, you must be sure that that person is really, is ready to be prosecuted. Otherwise, they keep on asking for more time to investigate. Then why take somebody to court if you're not ready to prosecute him?
The complexity of the cases that typically involve the big fish also tilts the scales of justice in their favor, to the disadvantage of Wanjiko.
You have a file with 10, 15, 20 accused persons. Some of those come with 2 lawyers. These are rich people. One witness in one case has taken 30 days. 30 days, and I said, what the hell are you? He says, CJ, please listen. The amount of documentation that is being produced, being referred to, there is no way you can move faster.
The inequalities that play out between the rich and the poor in court go beyond access to competent legal counsel. Access to the courts themselves proves a challenge. And as much as we'd like to deny it, life has taught us that even before you get to court, status matters right from arrest.
You hear they're in a posh, Gigiri, place like that. But ordinarily, they should be remanded where they were arrested. The jurisdiction of that where they committed the offense.
One party after party for the rich at the expense of the poor, because unlike the rich, the poor don't qualify to pay their bail monies in installments after shooting an unarmed entertainer in the neck. Olive Barrows, NTV.
There you have it, justice for sale. And now Ken Mijungu takes a closer look at the state of the judiciary. Ken?
Right, thanks very much, Silas. And of course, if you have to look at the judiciary, you have to look at the judiciary wholesome and right at the top. And with less than or about 1 year left before he retires by operation of the law, the Chief Justice will not only go down in history as one of the judges who presided over a nullified presidential election, but also one who led the judiciary at a time of great division. And then there's also that notion that the judiciary is the weakest link in the fight against corruption. Here's my report.
The selection of 41 judges by the Judicial Service Commission is a recent tiff between the full arm of the government and the third. President Uhuru Kenyatta has completely refused to rubber stamp the appointments. Issues of integrity, the bone of contention. But this is just one of the many conflicts between the executive and the judiciary on performance and independence.
Kumbe hii nchi kuna wenyewe. Some of us are serving at their pleasure.
The second in command in the judiciary, Philomena Mwilu, is still wanted by the DPP on allegation of impropriety. Justice J.B. Ojwang has had his own reputation put on trial, even though he emerged victorious. His years of service and his rather exemplifying career were put to the test. Justice Mohammed Ibrahim almost got in the dock due to an alleged gun drama, while Justice Smokin Wanjala has had to respond to a 75 million shilling bribery claim. So has Lady Justice Njoki Ndung'u, who has had to defend bribery claims and misbehavior.
For us, it was a surprise. It was unusual, but we accepted it, and we said we're going to appeal because we felt that the judges erred in law.
But that is not all. Budget cuts have affected the operations of the judiciary.
I'm told these are the people I'm supposed to go and talk to give me money to run the judiciary. Am I being done a favor? Ladies and gentlemen, am I being done a favor? We're talking about public funds for service to the Kenyan people.
Many see this as a case of revisiting of the judiciary as promised by President Kenyatta when the 2017 presidential election was nullified.
We are tired of being the punching bag all the time. The judiciary is not interested and does not interfere with the affairs of other arms of government. Why are they interested and interfering with our affairs? You want me to tell you why? They want to control the judiciary.
As a result of the constant back and forth, the judiciary is severely affected in terms of resources and personnel. Dispensation of justice continues to be compromised and the public confidence in the judiciary continues to dwindle.